Julian, I am such a fan of your work. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me.
No, I'm delighted.
Now, I'm going to confess before we talk about your beautiful series, The Gilded Age. I've always wanted to be like a background character in one of your series. Maybe a gardener or someone who is talking to a maid in the background. I just think that would be kind of lovely. That maybe that speaks to my own neuroses, but I've always loved, whether we're talking about Downton or of course the Gilded Age. You just have a beautiful way with words.
Oh, well, that's very nice to hear. In fact, in a film called Handful of Dust, they were approached by this old boy who said, "Can I just be someone in the back? Can I be a gardener or something?" And they said, "Yes, all right." It was a house called Carlton Towers they were filming at. And it turned out that he was the Duke of Norfolk. And so if you see a Handful of Dust, there is the Duke of Norfolk raking up leaves. I always rather liked that.
Now, let's start from the beginning. The Gilded Age. How did that come about? How long did it take to come together? Because it's amazing. I love the series.
It had a long gestation, really, because first of all, I got interested in the period called the Gilded Age a long time ago. I just started reading around it. I wasn't necessarily thinking of a movie or a series or anything. I just was reading. And then Bob Greenblatt, I was having lunch with him and I was talking about it, and he got rather interested in the idea. And that was when it sort of started, but it was quite early days with Downton. So, at one point it was kind of announced, and then years went by and absolutely nothing to show for it. And then it was with NBC Universal, who of course owned Downton. And then Bob moved to HBO and took us with him. So that was our sort of stage. I mean, it looks as if we were jumping around, but really Bob Greenblatt was the sort of permanent factor in the whole thing. So it wasn't as jumpy as all that.
Now, is Bob Greenblatt the type of person that just trusts you implicitly and lets you like have the creative space to do what your vision might be?
Yes, I think he is. And I think I enjoyed that. But HBO have been very good to us. I mean, they've invested a great deal of time, as well as more obviously money, in making the show look wonderful. And I think we have been allowed to have our head, really. I think we've been quite spoilt in the whole thing. It's a different process slightly making an American series from making an English one. And there are more people who are sort of part of it, and more people are giving you notes and all that kind of thing. But I think we've been treated very well, actually. I mean, really, our greatest challenge was making the first series during lockdown, which we were doing. And so we had masks and bracelets and visors and passwords and tests without number. Then we were not encouraged to go out in the evenings when we were in New York. So you were sort of taken back to your hotel. And then I just sat there eating takeaways and watching old films with Lana Turner for about a month. And that was my life. So that was really the challenge of the whole thing. But everyone rose to it splendidly. We did get COVID in different departments, but we never lost an actor at that point. And so we got the show. They were all very good, though. They were all very hardworking.
Can I tell you what my favorite episode of the season was?
What was that?
The third one.
Well, that's the one I chose to be.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yes, because they ask you which episode you want to put forward and for an award and everything. And that was the one I chose because I felt I wanted to remind people that it wasn't all about golden evening dresses coming down the stairs, and you know, that there was a dark side to the Gilded Age, and these great fortunes were made, but they were also lost. And you know, one wrong decision and a whole family was catapulted into the abyss. And I wanted to have that in the show. And I thought we were very lucky in our actors. I thought he was terribly good. And so that was the one I chose. I was sort of tragic element of it. And of course, George Russell, you know, who's sort of in a way based on Jay Gould, because Jay Gould had this, to me, rather pleasing double of being completely ruthless in the workplace, but a very affectionate father and a loving husband. And those seem so disparate, but they were present in him, both sides of that. And that's sort of George. But of course, those people, you know, when they're being ruthless, they don't understand the price that other people are paying. And they're just not aware of it. And of course, he, in a way, is almost quite shocked when he learns what's happened to Patrick Morris, but of course, too late to stop it.
My wife, when I'm watching these shows, sees that I get so invested. She calls, I'm watching my stories, is how she refers to it. And I have no shame. I get invested in Downton. I get invested in the Gilded Age. But I thought episode 3 represented like both a dichotomy that is in the Gilded Age, the good and the bad, the dark and the light, for lack of a better way to put it. And I thought it was possibly one of the best written ones out of the whole season. I loved them all, but that one I loved in particularly, sir.
Oh, that's really nice. That's really nice to hear. Thank you very much. That's cheered me up no end.
Now, in terms of casting, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better ensemble, in my opinion. Did you have a hand in who was casted, or did you have a team that helped you pick? How did that work?
Well, we have a wonderful casting team, which is run by Bernie Chelsea and Adam Caldwell. And they're very, very skillful, they're very knowledgeable, and they produce, you know, you get given suggested options. And quite honestly, usually with their options, any of them could play it. But I do have the right to be consulted and to weigh in on the thing, because at this point, I'm usually an executive producer as well as the creator and writer. And so these sort of things go with that. But I feel in very, very safe hands. I mean, it's really interesting to me, the process. I had lunch and various meetings with Bernie, and we go through the characters, and he just wants to know exactly what's in my head for these men and women. And are they clever? Are they stupid? Are they nervous? Are they confident? Are they good looking? Are they, you know, and all of this stuff. And then out of that, he comes up with some options. But I thought he found wonderful actors. And of course, Michael Engler, who's one of our directors and producers as well, is very much part of the Broadway community. He's directed on Broadway several times, and he knows all these people. And he was the one who pointed out during lockdown that most of the Broadway stars were sitting on their hands because all the theaters were dark. And so we have this, I think we've got 7 or 8 Tony winners in our supporting cast. And that really came from Michael. I mean, that was such a plus for us.
I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better group to tell the story. Now, do you have a thought as to where the story is going? Do we have an idea when we're going to go into the next season, start putting that together? Do you have multiple seasons already mapped out in your head? I'm always curious about the writing process.
Yes, I mean, I have now with the second season, it's pretty advanced, and we know exactly where we're going, and that's all fine. But I sort of start really with a general direction. Where is the end point? Where are we headed this year? And then I start to try and separate out the main storylines and the main events that will happen. And I also, every year, like to find 2 or 3 real events that took place in New York at that time, so that they can be woven in to the narrative, because I want viewers to look things up on Wikipedia and discover they really did happen, you know, like Thomas Edison lighting up Park Row to sort of demonstrate his electricity. All of that is true, and it's true that, you know, thousands of people went to see it, of every type, from street peddlers to carriage folk. And in our show, of course, Bertha takes 2 carriages of guests to see it. And I think that's nice. I think to remind people that a real life was going on. But I mean, now I would say I'm starting to think of a possible series 3, even though there is no realistic expectation of one yet, because I don't like to be caught on the hop if they do finally give you a commission. So I like to sort of know where we're going by the time that comes. And if it doesn't, well, so what?